Well, yep, this is a pretty interesting video I want to do. So I'm a little bit super late with this because I originally wanted to do this video kind of last week, honestly. Um, but it took a little bit while because I'm super busy. Last week was actually when I found out about the moving thing, so I had to also delay it until this week. Plus, but on the flip side, at least I can now actually truly talk about this while everyone else is still debating with this situation. And trust me, there has been debates about this thing, like real talk over the weekend of last weekend, that is, of this situation. However, one conversation has recently came up that I want to kind of go ahead and jokingly put my opinion on because it is a very interesting situation with this. That being, since the PlayStation, or rather Sony, is no longer wanting to make, physical media, Xbox, aka Microsoft, is literally doing very bad things to their jobs and still literally ruining their brand. And the Steam machine, that being Valve, uh, literally costing literally $1,000, being the first console to do so. That leaves us with two options. There is the PC and Switch 2. And believe it or not, last week I did start a poll, which you can still go on right now. As you can see from this thumbnail, it still hasn't gotten a lot of votes yet. And I don't care. It's going to be there forever, kind of thing. I mean, I don't know, because it's going to take a while until it gets like at least like something like normal, like up to 25 votes. But I do want to go ahead and talk about why I made that post because I am curious to see which consoles people want to get. Because PC and Switch 2 are so far right now the only two favorable consoles right now, considering everything. Especially since another thing that I think I did state it, but just in case if I haven't stated in the previous video involving this situation, Microsoft themselves has also confirmed they're going to try to do digital media only, though they have confirmed you also will kind of still use disc, apparently. I don't know. It's a very confusing situation with that, but they have sort of confirmed that. So right now, the last two options is Switch 2 and PC. And honestly, there has been some pros and some cons. Now, just to clarify, and everyone knows this, if I have it right over here in, well, I can't even reach it. It's underneath the book bag. But as you guys already know, I have a Switch 2 and a Switch Uno, of course. And of course, which I know is hypocritical because a lot of people can jokingly see, and I already made even a joke post about this. I have like a freaking Xbox betting, not Xbox, PlayStation betting and freaking clock and freaking stand over there. The only reason why is because it's the only video game thingy I can find that actually fits my style a little bit. And believe it or not, I was originally going to get a PlayStation 5. However, after this literal news, I don't even want to get a PlayStation 5 alongside other things. So that begs the question, which is better, PC or Switch? I mean, first off, there's obviously the both, which I actually think it's fine. But both have some positives and negatives. First off, there's Switch 2, which definitely has some very interesting negatives. I'm not even going to lie about that. It does have some good positives, though. One of the biggest is obviously you can carry around. In fact, the reason why my Switch is on my bed right now, although underneath a freaking book bag, is because I just took it to work and da. And that's one of the benefits of the Switch in general, whether it's Switch 1 or 2. You can take it anywhere you want. And it's, pretty good. Switch 2 is definitely a big boy console and such. It definitely has, a little bit faster load time, bigger screen, lot more data. Pretty much, it has a lot of pros with it, but there is a lot of cons. Obviously, first off and foremost, let's get the elephant out of the room here. Yes, not only there's the key cards things, but to be honest, and I haven't seen much people do bring this up, but I always bring it up here, especially since I keep mentioning it. Nintendo were kind of the ones who kind of started this whole chaos a little bit with the key cards thing. Now they are still making physical stuff as well. In fact, one can argue, well, at least you have something to sell. You can sell the key cards. True, but the only difference is with it in a box, a code in a box. Excuse me for blundering on that. Is the fact that one is you gotta type it in on a store and da da da, and the other you just put in and you have to wait. Both still comes from the literal internet. You still need the internet to download all of them, and it's still kind of digital, to say the least. But that still doesn't mean there still isn't physical Switch 2 games, obviously. It's just very, to say the least, with that. And of course, with the recent rise of what Sony is planning to do, Nintendo has to make a very serious decision here because it's kind of the only last one, to say the least, to do so. And even then, there's some other to it. Like, for example, Switch 2, even though it's powerful, it's still on the same level as Switch 1, and we're still waiting for, better games to be on there. Hell, I'm still waiting for Guilty Gear Strive next update to be on that Switch, which many people believed it won't come, and I can kind of see why. And of course, right now, we just got announced a couple of weeks ago, but it was kind of like buried because it was during EVO, that Blue Sky's Rising Fantasy is coming to the Switch as well. P.S. I butchered the fuck out of that name, I know that. If you know what fighting game I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, and sorry if I butchered that name. But yeah, it's finally coming to the Switch too, which I'm excited because it's made by the same people from Guilty Gear Strive, and I've been wanting that game on there. Plus, it's getting its DLC, but it's coming in 2 months. But even then, that kind of shows because, some games may not come on there yet. Like, real talk, I am curious to see where Persona 6 is going to fall into this as well, with the recent decision of Microsoft and Sony kind of going digital. Kind of Microsoft, Sony not kind of. They're straightforward with this. But the point is, there are not many games on there that people would want to play on there. And even then, we have to wait until a long while before we get the actual ports to the Switch, which is, of course, unfortunate. And that leads us to PC, of course. Now, PC is a very interesting case because one of the things that many people, including myself, keep hearing is the fact that it's also an all digital console. True, but like I said before, and many other people, and I do believe I said this before, PC is incredibly different because, first of all, you own your files with that, and second of all, as many people have pointed out, it's not a monopoly. It's literally not a monopoly. That's actually one of the reasons why everyone's upset with Sony right now. Because if they do this, they'll have literally dominance over their own store. They can raise up the prices to $1 million of all we know. I know that's over exaggeration, but I jokingly haven't seen people use it, so might as well use it. But still. And it's not like GOG or freaking Steam or blah, blah, blah. There's many video game websites you can go on there, download freaking games, even some for free. Like, for example, BreakQuest. You can actually get that for free, actually. A lot of fan games, too, like freaking Game Jolt and Itch. I don't know how you pronounce that fucking last website, but you know what I'm referring to. In fact, that's how I got most of the Five Nights at Anime games from, and such. So, I'm sorry, but yes, it is digital, but to be fair, it's much more better, to say the least. Plus, also, it has way more horsepower to literally power up those games. So it's on the same level and probably even better levels than the consoles. Not just Switch 2, but the consoles. However, the main issue with that, other than you gotta build it, which is a pretty big deal, there are pre-made stuff, is the pricing. Now, of course, just to clarify, I know there are cheaper freaking computers out there. I am very aware. I mean, you could just look up the cheapest one online, of course. But it will cost a pretty penny, especially if you are trying to build one. In fact, it's recommended to get a pre-built one. Or I like to argue, just get a laptop too. It's gonna be fine if you do that. Like I know that in my Walmart around here, they have like a laptop for $400. So there you go. So and even then, if you're like wanting smaller gaming, then there you go. You can still probably put Steam on there, to say the least. So what's my verdict on all this? Which one do I think? I think both is good, and the smart answer would be both, just in case. But if you want the cheapest console that still has some great AAA gaming, and you don't want to spend too much money, and you want to take it around, then Switch 2 is the way to go. If you want literally tons of other excellent games that are not even on consoles, and you just want like more powerful hardware, then PC is the go. All I'm going to say is both are good options right now, which is kind of unfortunate. But if I had to choose which one, even though I do already have a Switch 2, obviously, and although I do love the Switch 2, I gotta be honest, if you have to choose one or the other, I would argue PC is the way to go. Mostly because it has more games on there, has more horsepower on there, and while it does cost a lot, it is worth your time. But again, if you don't have the money, you do have a Switch 2, and they're the only twos that, which is really sucks too, because it's kind of funny. I think I said this before as well, but just to repeat if I haven't, it's kind of funny because last year everyone was making fun of the Switch 2, and now it's definitely refers to the freaking PS or PlayStation in general, or Sony in general, which is kind of interesting to say. That's not to say Nintendo still fucked up a little bit with Switch 2. Like, I love the Switch 2 more than the next person, but even I can admit there is some fucked up problems, especially how they presented it, because I think that was like my major issue, because they presented it in the most stupid way possible. And it's kind of funny because now they're finally getting back into the spotlight, because thankfully they haven't fall apart with what's going on with Microsoft and Sony, especially Sony, which is it still surprised me, because the only update I can give you is, yeah, they're still trucking with this, and it's highly unlikely they're going to back down from this, even with lawsuits. Like, there gotta be some way, shape, or form they're going to try to bend over these lawsuits. I mean, Just Stop Gaming, unfortunately, just got literally bitch slapped by a freaking politician who thought Minecraft is illegal. I am not joking, which is unfortunate. But that's kind of the sad truth about this. Like, I do agree that justice is needed for Sony, but it's going to take not needed for Sony, excuse me. Correction, needed for us, not Sony. Sony needs to go to hell. But oh boy, it's going to take a while. But that's the best picks you got there, to say the least. If you want me to be completely honest, even though I am a big fan of Nintendo and I do love my Switch too, PC is the way to go, honestly. Like, I highly recommend go to PC. I actually myself is thinking about getting a PC, because I do want a secondary console. Like, I love my Switch too, but I do want a secondary console. And I think PC is the way to go. But anyways, this has been Floxcat, snapping out here. Hopefully this video helped. Bye-bye.